You're watching Abundance Show, and look who's there. This is Robin Hughes from Cambodia, right? Reporting live from Cambodia. He is a New Zealander and Australian, and he is a person of purpose, and his purpose is to alleviate the poverty of the world, especially third world, through education. And he educates people with his innovative ways. And what are those ways and why he's doing so for the impact? We'll ask this Robin Hughes. Over to you, Robin. Tell us about the purpose and objective and the impact you want to.
Okay, so yes, today we're going to continue on from last time in a way, because last time we were talking about scaling, right? And we talked about some of the initial stages, like I mentioned it particularly at the end to sort of explain the structure. When we're talking about, for example, transformation and scaling, because this is an area that I've worked in, we focus, from my perspective, we focus on the humans, we focus on the people, right? So when we are scaling solutions, we're first creating solutions for people, right? We focus on creating abundance for people. So we need to understand how things work for people and focus on that. And so I talk about friction and obstacles, the things that stand in the way of creating a good experience for people. And that experience, when there is obstacles and friction, and when people also, when they feel unsafe or they felt uncomfortable, they tense up. And when they tense up, when they react to it, from fear and discomfort and that, then they tend to block their ability to be able to change and transform. They become blocked. So we have to look at, how can we make people feel safe and easy and comfortable to change and to grow. Okay. The other aspect of people often change or grow when things go so bad that they have no choice, like they feel like they have no choice. And that is usually more of a harmful way to grow, because often when we're put right out of sight of comfort, we're really uncomfortable. We deal with that. We often have damage, psychological damage, and sometimes even physical damage, and it takes time to recover from. Right, it creates extra friction, obstacles to being able to change and grow and to scale. So first we understand people, and we look at that in terms of processes. What processes can we use to make it easier for people for whatever they're doing? How do they go about it? What are the steps? How can we remove friction? How can we remove obstacles? How can we make it easier for them? And then we go, once we've got, these are the processes, these steps that work, we tested it, we see how it goes, then we go and look at, okay, now we've got something that we've tested that we can then automate. Okay, we can use technology to automate it and to, to get the success, to get the experience that we want. So we do it ideally you kind of do it in steps like that. Sometimes, as people skip steps and go to technology earlier, but then still you're wanting to go back to the people and look at the processes. You have to refine the process, make sure so even if you're starting from a technology perspective, you need to go back and make sure that you're designing for people and that the processes are good without too much friction and obstacles, that you're making it smooth and easy for people. And then when you get into the realm of technology, then you're talking about what you've been talking about. You're talking about moonshot. Okay, this is actually related to the people and the process as well, to be honest. The idea of looking from space and looking down and seeing how things fit in the context and their perspective, seeing the larger picture. Okay, so when you're dealing with people and processes, you're still looking at that because they underlie. When you're looking at technology and you're looking at all the things that you look like, you're looking back at those things. So they're important. And yeah, as you're talking about, where you use technology and automation, and you improve as the technology improves, you can You can synergize better. You can combine things. You can miniaturize. You can make things accessible to people across the world. So yeah, you can really scale things. So you have a process, simple process that can go everywhere. Everybody can use it. I mean, but at the back end, there's all these systems and stuff, got processes going on. But on the front end, in terms of what people's interactions with the systems and the technology, it can be made relatively simple and easy for people to have a good experience, right? And of course, the technology is amazing, right? So you can use virtual reality. You've got AI, and so you can. And you've got technology for decentralization, for decentralizing decision making, and being able to disseminate knowledge and to share, and all of that stuff. There's all of that good stuff which you've looked at in terms of the mindset stuff you've been learning in terms of the moonshot side of things. But that's all built on top of that base, right? And so I've been looking at, I was looking at finance, money from the perspective of how that can fit in. So I'm just going to see if I can approve that, so more people can see.
Yeah.
Yes. Adding it to profile. Good.
Could you see that?
So we're just working on improving our process, right? So that more people can easily see the stream while it's live. But when you've tagged me, right, people can see it. Probably the main difference is when I accept it, then it goes on my profile as well. So provided you've tagged me, then it should allow people to see it. When I approve it, then it just does it.
Yeah, it's already
good.
there on your profile, if you can see.
Yes, it's good. So yeah, we talk about continual improvement, right? So the focus, in terms of mindset, we want to start from what we have, what we can do, what our current capabilities are, and we keep improving from then. We're looking at focus on better rather than perfection, right? So when we talk about the abundance organization, right, and growing, expanding that, we can do a lot. We don't need to have finance, right? We don't need to have finance. We don't need to have money involved at all, because we can operate something like this purely volunteer basis. Because when we're creating abundance, right? We're creating abundance. That helps people when they learn about abundance and they're sharing about abundance with their own personal things. They can have more success with their personal things, and so they can earn. If they need money to survive, they can earn from their personal business and their personal things they're doing, and then they can volunteer their time for the abundance organization. So it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to have sustainability mechanisms built in, because already we already can link in with what we're doing already, and that can be separate, which is actually quite nice to have some separation. There's a big advantage to that, keeping money out of the equation. Obviously, sustainability is important, as I mentioned. For people to be able to volunteer in their time, they need to be able to afford to give up that time and do that. So that fits, right? Provided things are sustainable, then it's scalable. If you have a process, you have systems, you have a setup so people can afford to do it, they can join in and they can volunteer. It doesn't take them a lot of time. The process and systems are simple and easy to use. So you don't need to have a lot. As you know, for me, before I became involved with process analysis and did that as a job and learned about that and did the job, when I was in a game studio, I worked on the processes and the system and the tools. People say that the way that I think is systems orientated, right? that I'm naturally a system thinker. That I think in terms of systems. I think in terms of how do things work, how do things fit together. So that enabled me to work on like operations and tools and helping with the technology side. That's all like scaling. That's something that I'm good at and that I'm used to working remotely with people from all over the world. So that is easy for me, right? So I talked about before, and we were going to talk about that in terms of my involvement with the Abundance Organization. Um, I like to help people all around the world rather than being focused on one area. So my abilities are in scaling, right, and in those setting up processes and systems and working on tools and such to automate them. I've been working on tools, looking at onboarding, so the whole process of onboarding customers and community. In our case, it's community, right? And making all that work, helping people to work together and achieving results. So I would love to be involved in more of that capacity of helping things be organized, helping with scaling. So in my, mostly like in terms of my business stuff, I say chief experience officer, right? Because that's what's suitable. That's my focus in terms of business. I do strategy and other things, but that's what I want to be thinking about in terms of my business, that I'm focused on creating the best experience for people, and that applies across the community and that kind of thing. In terms of the Abundance Organization, maybe I could have a role in strategy, right? I could have a role in focus into the organization and the scaling and stuff. So, like head of strategy, largely advisorial role where, I volunteer and help with looking at the organization and the processes and helping to grow the organization through a focus on the strategic aspects, which fits well with abundance, right? Because in terms of abundance, my approach is very strategic, right?
That's cool. That's cool. I really understand. I really appreciate that. I mean, since you are an abundant person and you are looking for an abundant role and in strategies and systems, placing in system in place. I mean, for the better impact. Since you're a person of impact, so you think that way. The people look, the eventuality is the impact of abundance. I mean, if you think bigger, you have the bigger impact. And since you are in, yeah, great. I really respect it. I mean, if you become the head of strategies and head of the strategic division or head of strategy department for the global abundance organization, this is very honor to have in the team as a strategist. This is amazing. Okay, this is cool. Let me think about this. Let me talk to the people. I mean, who are the, I mean, and then I sure, yes, this is amazing. I mean, to me, this is exciting, honestly, because once you're convinced mentally and you feel respected and you feel that this is the real role that the role you choose for yourself is amazing one, that the results would be out of the box, and the result will be abundant and exponential. So I really respect this. Yes,
Yes, of course.
give me some time. So sure, I mean, since I mean this is the right time. This you got the first mover advantage. This is called the first mover advantage because we are talking at the point of the juncture of the history, and we are here because I was the one. I mean, who thought of it, organize or make the organization which is against wars, which is against every negative thing, be it any, be it any, be it anywhere. So let's collaborate together. Let's stop wars. Look, I mean, killing is no solution. If you are killing anybody in the world. For one thinking that your thinking is better than mine, my thinking is better than yours, what I wear is, you should wear the same. I mean, for this reason one should not kill, not at all. I mean, this is not enough to kill anybody. So that is abundance. I mean, we are against wars, and we want the the whole sum of money being wasted on guns and bullets and, yeah, these all things. It should be invested into the poverty elevation, to educate people for the health, and for the education, and for the research, and that's how the world should move like. And I hope you're gonna come up with amazing strategies that most of the globe will get benefit out of this abundance organization. Over to you.
Yeah, so yeah, as I say, it's about, yeah, you say it's about collaboration, right? So all of it says when you have a role, it tells you what focus you have. So, I mean, some people like look at roles in terms of responsibilities. It means like if you have this role, then you have the power to do this and that and the other thing. But from my perspective, when you have a role, that means this is what you focus on, right? That's the main thing. It's what you focus on, and then when you come together, then you discuss, like you discuss the strategy together. You work together. You collaborate, and so it just makes you like responsible for making sure that area is done right. That as a team that you're covering that aspect well, right? So it's a matter of taking leadership and facilitating. So the main thing I would talk about is facilitating, right? Particularly as you get a larger organization, it doesn't mean that as you're a leader, it doesn't mean that you do it or that you control it. What it means is that that you help direct things in terms of asking questions, asking the right questions, helping direct conversations so that it's helpful and useful and productive. Yeah, so that's what it means. It means saying, why don't we do this? And then everybody say, discussing it, and then you look at together, you decide what you actually do, right? And it's about incorporating everybody's ideas and looking at, okay, how can we get the best result? And then making important decisions together.
Okay, what best platform do you think we should be streaming for this global abundance organization from? LinkedIn? Do you find the LinkedIn a better platform to stream through? Like we right now we are streaming through Facebook and YouTube. So is that a good idea to stream through LinkedIn too?
It's different audience, right? I think for the moment, we're more likely to get general people through Facebook, right? We're more likely to get um, people that are not so focused on work, because LinkedIn is a work professional setting. So on Facebook, we're more likely to get everyday people, right? And we're more likely, have a lot of connections and more likely people to actually watch it. Um, YouTube is reliant a lot on who people see it and they like it, and then it sort of like people just go on there to look for content. They're not necessarily like following particular people. They might be they're searching for a topic or whatever, and so it's quite good for getting people that are outside your network. But still, you also often, you have to be picking the right topics and, what people are searching for. And also, if you're getting people from other places, if you have other, on Facebook or on a blog or other places, you have to have connecting to get them onto YouTube. If you're not reliant on that's the keywords and what people just people happen to see it and then they like because that's what they're searching for. So LinkedIn is work orientated. And it's quite professional, right? So if we want to get into the LinkedIn, there's high expectations, the high expectations of quality. And it's often difficult to get. Once you get momentum, great. But before then, it's sometimes very difficult to get anything from LinkedIn, right? Because unless people are following you closely, like they've got their settings so that they get notified every time you post, your post can just get lost so easily.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
So I would suggest that Facebook is good for now. Experiment with YouTube and LinkedIn. If we want to do YouTube, we need to focus on, there's some things we need to focus on more to do there. And if we're doing LinkedIn, there's some things we need to focus on more there. So we need to improve, right? We need to continually improve what we're doing to be focused on the platform that we are working on. Facebook is probably the most forgiving and easiest in terms of audience.
Again, now coming back to the earlier point, how about what do you think that how should I post your position? Like, is head of strategies department, or I mean, what do you suggest?
You just say head of strategy.
Head of strategies.
Usually you don't have that. Usually you don't have the plural because strategy already is it can be like an accountable noun, right? So strategy, like water or whatever, it's like liquid, right? It's an idea, so it doesn't really have boundaries. If you're talking about a strategy, then you're talking about versus strategies. Then you have to, because you're comparing singular to plural. But when you just say strategy, right, it is uncountable. So you don't need to have the IES on the end.
Okay, okay, cool.
Does that make
Okay,
sense?
this does. How about the okay? This is about into the grammar thing, and I'm very weak in that. How about the strategy? How about the strategy that you think for the future that we're gonna evolve this organization into the real one, and for the real impact so that we can really this organization really matters. It just, I mean, otherwise there are thousands of the organizations already there. There are people who are trying to, but I mean, how this could be different than others? I mean, what is the strategy?
I think I think part of our strategy is strategy, right? Yeah. So by really looking at strategy, then we have solutions, right? Because we think through all the different parts and how they click together and how they fit together. We're looking at from a perspective of mindset, but it's not just looking at mindset. It's like, but how does this connect with reality, with solutions? So people go lovey-dovey, but where's the connection, right? We need to connect to real action. We need to make it simple. We need to remove the friction. We need to make it easy for people to know what they can do and to do it, because we want real impact. We don't want just talk, right? So people talk about it. They even like, people go into, you talk about Israel and the Palestinians. People go in there like, what's his name? Then they talk about NVC, nonviolent communication, and you talk about, the nicer term for it's compassionate communication, which I prefer, right? Compassionate communication. They go in there, they talk to the Israelis and the Palestinians, and they try to do peace building and stuff, right? And it has some impact, okay? It does make some impact, okay? There's no that I acknowledge completely that it makes impact, right? But what's happened, right? Is the problem solved? Like the impact is limited, right? It's not scaling. Maybe they get through to a few people, but then things are just continuing. So if we want to really make impact, we need to be able to scale it so that it's reaching the right people, enough people and the right people, who are making the decisions so that the violence stops, so that we see an end to it, we see a resolution. The difficulty is that I've dealt with conflict and problems before, and I've seen my dad's dealt with done reconciliation and helped different groups that very upset with each other and have a long history of when people have similar views in some ways but some differences, then often there's a lot of emotion and feelings, betrayal. People have very strong views on things when they're very close, but there's enough differences. They often more enemy than people that are quite different, right? So often there's similarity aspects that makes things harder, right? So that can apply for, like, you have different group of Muslims, right? And sometimes that's hard for people, different branches of Islam, to get on with each other. And that's the same with sometimes with Christians and groups within that people have difficulties, have big challenges, and so these problems can be solved, right? They can be solved, but big wigs going in there and trying to solve it, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. You have all these presidents and other peacekeepers and people that go in, it doesn't work because it's not understanding, the whole context and actually working through the cause of it and root cause of it, and going underneath and creating the right conditions for peace. If you say you bring people together and say, you need to have peace, right? And you have a lot of discussions about it, and what happens at the end? No peace. No peace. Okay, so just talking often is not enough. We can't just decide, okay, we're going to make people have peace. We can't force it. We need to enable it. We need to allow it. We need to create the conditions for peace.
So what could be the better strategy for the implementation and for creating the enabling environment?
That starts with every one of us, right? We like to have an idea that we think what needs to happen, and we put that on other people, right? We decide the solution, right? And often when we're doing that, we're abdicating ourselves of our own responsibility. We're not seeing how we fit into the picture. We're upset with other people because of what they're doing, but we don't acknowledge our role. We don't acknowledge how we fit into the picture of conflict. And so what we can easily end up doing is we end up, people, I saw, like, there's a guy in New Zealand from where I was, he's very, like, focused on peace building and stuff, but all the time he's spreading hate. He's spreading hate all the time. So how can you reconcile this thing of, okay, I am peace building, I'm going to create peace, and then spread hate all the time? It doesn't work, right? We need to look back at what our actions are and what we're doing, and understand how that fits. So, I mean, I say that, but when we can actually focus away from that, and if we go micro, right? If we focus on mindset and behaviors and go back to small, we can gradually change without even focusing on that, right? Because we focus on ourselves. When we focus on ourselves and our mindset and our behaviors, then we'll go through and we already solved the problem for ourselves. And when we solve the problem for ourselves, we have internal peace, we have peace within ourselves, right? And we're equipped to listen and understand and empathize with other people. And we're set up to create the conditions, help create the conditions. We're set up to help scale, because we have got things right with ourselves first. so that we're spreading peace instead of spreading hate,
Okay.
right?
Again, we
Do you understand what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
that
So some people that are focused the most on peace are spreading hate. It's very ironic.
okay. We've hit today's time limit, so we'll be seeing you tomorrow. And before I call it a day, please conclude today's decision, today's debate.
Yeah, so today's the last way of our week before the weekend, right? So we will be back on Monday, right? So I guess in conclusion, right? There's a lot of power in strategy, right? If understanding how things work, we can both through ourselves first, right? And focusing through, strategically focus on people and the human aspect, and then you can scale. And technology, moonshot, yeah, it's amazing, right? We can do so much, but we need to start from the fundamentals and work strategically. Otherwise, what happens? We can make things worse, right? So we want to make things better. We focus on perfect, we make things worse. We focus on better, we make things better.
That's amazing. Great. Today's great message. And with that, we call it a day. And have a happy weekend. Thank you, Robin.